Hello tiny creatures of the universe, welcome back to the Floating Koala channel. Now today I'm giving you guys a tips video, and I have not done one of these in a while, and there are a couple tips, quite a lot of tips that I have in this video today that no one really speaks about. I never see a lot of people do. I know I said that in the last tips video, okay, but this tips video is serious. I'm being serious about it, right? I've never really seen anyone talk about these tips, and they are tips. They are kind of quotation mark pro tips, okay? So if you haven't really mastered the basics, you should go watch my previous videos because they cover some more basic tips. But now we are moving on to the pro tips. Now these are tips that I use in my everyday gameplay. They allow me to win more of my 1v3s, they allow me to be in better positions, and just overall get more kills and damage in games, and basically have a more consistent KD. Now I know I'm not the person to really care about KD, and KD doesn't really matter, but if you are the type of person to care about that and you want to increase your chances of survival, some of these tips that I'm going to give you today are very, very important. Some are going to be for ranked and most are going to be for pubs, but to be honest, you can kind of utilize these in both game modes. And lastly guys, I want to tell you that I'm currently streaming on Twitch right now, right this minute, so make sure you click the first link in the description after you have watched this video and come join the stream. We'll have a good time. I'll say hello to you. We'll have a nice little chat. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the video. Starting off with tip number one, guys, is how to tell whether you are in zone before it closes. Now, when the zone is closing, right? And you have the bar indicating whether you are in zone or not. If the arrow is not in the white, it means you are not in zone. Very simple, but you can only see that bar when the zone is closing. And if you're trying to get in a good position at the edge of zone, for example, in ranked, and you don't know whether you're in zone or not, the circle in your minimap will actually blink if you are not in zone, and it will stop blinking when you are in zone. So if you want to sit right in the edge of storm, you can actually figure out if you are in zone or not by the blinking minimap. And like I said, this is very useful because it allows you to rotate early, and ranked this season, especially Diamond 3 and up, is very difficult, not because the players are so good, but purely because of the map. We have outgrown its skill. Kings Canyon is way too small for ranked. So if you are a worse player and trying to climb up in the ranks, make sure you try finding some positioning early, and yeah, you can find extra good positioning by using this little tip. If you want to hang out in edge of zone, because center zone is very, very hectic, and there's rarely any cover in center zone unless there is a building there and you're caustic. But yeah, if you want to find a nice place to sit on the edge of zone, make sure you know when you are in zone, and you can literally be sitting right on the edge of storm, and most squads don't really even check the edge of zone. So yeah, that will probably be the safest bet for you. Anyway guys, tip number two, when it's a 1v1 situation and you're in that very awkward position where someone is standing on the other side of the door and you are standing in front of it, and you kind of just sit there for a minute, right, without doing anything, and you kind of expect the other person to kick it down. Now, a tip in my previous video I spoke about was never kick the door down. I say kick the door once because it sometimes makes the enemy move back from the door and allows you to keep your gun raised and shoot them before they can slap you. But a way to ensure that you win most of your door fights is by doing this. Now, make sure that when you are standing on your side of the door is you press the open door button once. So for me on Xbox it is X, and I'm assuming on PS4 it is square, right? So obviously when you try opening the door, it won't open because the person is standing on the other side. But what this does, for example, is if the person moves even slightly back, the door will creep open. Now that will freak them out. They will be like, why is the door opening? And they will move back thinking that they're gonna have to fight you. And when they move back, you can actually shoot them before they can shoot you because the door opens at a better angle for you. Now, Floating Koala over here likes to always carry at least one thermite with him in pubs. Now in ranked, maybe I like to carry two because those end zones can be a little bit tricky. But to eliminate the possibility of losing any of these door fights, just carry a thermite with you and throw it on the door. You know the rest. You burn them into a little chicken. So to summarize, tip number two is basically just make sure you press the door open button so the door opens to them. Now you're going to hear a sound if they do it back. So if they try to open the door after you've done it, you're going to hear a sound. So you want to keep countering it until you are the one who has the opening door. And I say this again, if you want like a 60% chance of them moving away from the door, just kick the door down once and wait, and they will get nervous and move back. Just make sure you are the one who's going to open the door and not them. Do not kick the door down twice because there's a delay between pulling out your weapon, and you never want to do that because that will get you killed. Do not kick doors down, guys, okay? That's kind of a tip. That's like an extra tip. Do not kick doors down. Let them kick doors down because you will die. 90% of the chance, unless you have like a Kraber and you headshot them, you will most likely die. So tip number three, guys, is make sure you are rail sliding and using your momentum to make sure you are always trying to increase your speed. Now, Apex is a movement game, and it's one of the best movement games out there at the moment, and it's very mechanical. The movements are very, very mechanical, which makes having advanced movement in Apex Legends very skillful skillful. You can do things such as wall jumping, rail sliding, slide jumping, you know, just all the sorts to make you, you know, move a little bit faster, by also making yourself a harder target to hit. Now, one of my favorite ways to get around the map even quicker is by rail sliding. Now, this is basically by using your momentum on elevated objects to make yourself move faster. So the videos you're seeing in the background right now are basically rail slides, and you want to make sure that you are doing it, you know, it doesn't have to be on a rail, but it can be on anything. Just make sure you're doing this everywhere. You can even climb to the top of a high wall and slide from the top of that wall like you are running at full speed and sliding, but it just actually just launches you from the top of that wall, just like you are seeing in the background right here. And kind of a joint tip to this, if you want to run away and survive a little bit better, just make sure you're wall jumping over walls when you are running away from people, because you know it saves that time from you having to climb the wall, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the only time I wall jump, unless I'm trying to go for some style points or something. I don't really ever wall jump because I do fuck them up quite a lot. So yeah, it's a risky thing to do, but once you master it, you know, it becomes a little bit less risky. So yeah, when you're running away, wall jump. Other than that, don't do it, because you probably are going to get yourself killed. Tip number 4. Now, I know I say 15 tips in the video. Okay, I don't know if this is going to be 15 because I don't want to drag it on too long, but we'll do as many as we can. It's most likely going to be 15, but anyway, let's carry on. Tip number 4. This is a tip with Gibby. Now, Gibraltar is a big boy, okay, and you know he's just a big boy. Number 1 is Gibby. You always want to be using a close range weapon to use in your bubble. Okay, you want to be outplaying people in your bubble, but this is not the tip. The tip is basically when you are on... How many times did I say basically? I'm sorry. I'm kind of dumb, so the only word I know how to say is basically. But anyway, let's think of a scenario here, right? So there's you and someone else in a dome. You guys are fighting it out. You get them, for example, maybe half health, and they get you 1 HP. If you're fighting in the dome, you want to retreat out of the dome. Make sure they can't hear you. It's pretty easy to, you know, avoid shots in the dome. You want to wait for your Gibraltar shield to load up again, and then you fight them. There's no point running away as Gibby because you will die. You want to fight when you are on low HP. Just make sure your Gibby shield is available again, because you know when they shoot it down, it takes maybe 5 seconds for it to come back up. Make sure you wait for the time to get your Gibby shield back up and then fight them, and they're going to get very upset because they got you 1 HP, but your Gibby shield is back up. So yeah, make sure you fight on low HP as Gibby. Do not run away as Gibby. You might as well ask them to like spread your butt cheeks, because you will die. He's fat, you're going to get bodied. So to summarize, that tip is when you are low HP, you fight with Gibby because he has that extra health with his beautiful gun shield. Not very beautiful when you're coming up against it, but you know, you get the point. Now listen to this. If you're coming up against a good Gibby, he's going to try doing the same thing. So you make sure as soon as you get him low, you have to push the hell out of him, because yeah, if you panic and go back because you're also on low HP, he's going to get his gun shield back up and he's just going to destroy you because you're not going to have anything to defend yourself with. Tip number 5. I'm pretty sure this is tip number 5, hopefully. Anyway, tip number 5 is how to win more of your 1v3s. Now I will make a complete guide to this in another video, like a complete guide on how to 1v3, but this is kind of just one tip from that. Is for World's Edge. Nothing to do with Kings Canyon right now, okay? The Kings Canyon guide will be included in the 1v3 video, but this right here, in World's Edge, it is very easy to 1v3 in the zipline building. So in the streamer building, aka death building right here, and in the main cap building right here, it's very easy to 1v3 because you can zipline hop the hell out of teams and they get so confused. Now the thing is, if you're going to do this, make sure you have a Mastiff. Now I didn't realize how OP the Mastiff was at squad wiping until maybe like a month ago. Like I wasn't really using it until a month ago, and although yes, it's a lot better on mouse and keyboard, so if you are playing in PC lobbies with controller, be warned, because they will be able to flick up and down a lot easier than a controller player. You can so easily 1v3 in these zipline buildings, it's actually insane. Now I'm going to come up with a complete guide to this, but just try this, okay? Just try this. Whenever you get pushed by a team, lead them back to one of these buildings and you will have a higher chance of beating them because you can zipline hop. Now the thing is, I will not teach you exactly how to do it in this video. I will wait for the 1v3 guide, but I'm sure you can figure it out yourself. Just take them back to these buildings and try to, you know, bamboozle them with the zip lines, and I guarantee you will fool them. You might even be able to get the squad wipe even if you are not a great player. It takes a lot of practice, but I'll teach you guys how to do it in the 1v3 video coming in a couple days. Tip number 6 or 7, I have no clue what tip we're on, but anyway, we're just gonna fly through these right now. We're not even gonna worry about what tip we're on. I'm just gonna give you the tips. So when you finish squad wiping a team, make sure the first thing you loot from the box is armor. You don't want to loot anything else. First, loot the armor so you are secure, just so there are no chances of you creating any babies. But realistically though, you know, there's always third parties, especially on Kings Canyon, so make sure you loot the armor first so you are prepared to fight another fight in case the third party comes in. This is very basic, but again, not a lot of people do it. Even top players sometimes don't do it because they think they're safe. Never think you're safe. Now, I was just about to say something, but I'm going to save that for a 20 bomb tutorial because goddamn, I have some good ideas for that. Anyway, we're going to move on. So I have two favorite loadouts this season. It's the Volt and the Mastiff, or the Volt and the Prowler. Now, Now, with a Vault, I always have a 2x on, just like I did the R9. By the way, if you're not using the 2x on the Vault, you're doing something wrong. Anyway, so basically, it's like me having a medium range weapon, which is the Vault, and a close range weapon, which is either the Prowler or the Mastiff. Now, when you are in the open, you always want to be holding out the Vault, just in case someone is, for example, 50 meters away from you and you want to shoot them, because you're not going to be doing too much damage with a Mastiff or a Prowler from that range. I mean, you could, but you're realistically, you're going to be doing more damage with the Vault. Why did it just sound like I swallowed a big cock? So basically this tip is like this. So when you are in the open, make sure you are holding your longer range weapon just in case you need to get in an engagement. And when you are moving towards buildings, for example, say you're in the open lands just outside market and you're moving towards market, the closer I get towards market, as soon as I'm really close, I switch to my Prowler, which is the close range weapon. Just so you know, in case I need to get in an engagement, I don't need to pull out my weapon and then swap. You know what I mean? This is a basic tip, but again, not a lot of people do it, and it's kind of a rookie mistake. I sometimes make this mistake too. I sometimes use the Vault at close range. The Vault is amazing at close range, but you know, the Prowler is better. So you want to make sure you swap to your close range weapon when moving into buildings and stuff. I don't know what tip this is. I'm not going to even say the tip number because I would just say probably the wrong one. I'll probably say tip 7 and it's tip fucking 14. But anyway, this is a tip with Octane. Now make sure with Octane's jump pad, just how you're seeing in the background right now, you're always timing your double jump so you can slide on something extra to keep your momentum going. Now this allows you to move around the map a lot faster with Octane, and like I said earlier, it makes you a harder target to hit. That's it. There's not much I can say about this. Just make sure you're timing your double jump to something that you can actually slide off. Next tip is basic, but it's something you need to learn. Now this is making sure if you're trying to 1v3, you know, and you're in a building, especially on Kings Canyon, there are a lot of buildings with a lot of peak points because, you know, those like scrapped buildings with a lot of holes in them. You need to be aware of those holes when you are inside those buildings, because for example, if you're going up the stairs, you know what I mean, if you're going up some stairs and you think the enemy, the only way in is up those stairs, no, you're wrong. There's many other holes that people can shoot you through, so you need to be aware of the holes inside the buildings to make sure you don't get caught off guard, and so you can slap them up. You know, just remember, there's not always one entrance into a building. There are multiple entrances and multiple ways that they can peek through the holes. So just be aware, just like the footage you're seeing in the background, you must be aware where the enemies can shoot you from, because they will catch you off guard and it will most likely lead to your death. You know those big doors in market, you know a way that you can climb them even quicker, or basically just kind of surprise your enemy instead of climbing up? The best way to do it is by climbing on top of the door and then just opening the door. Now when you open the door, it will move you up, and it will allow you to keep your gun raised while, you know, seeing the enemy for the first time. Because, you know, if you were just trying to climb the door and, you know, you got up there would be a delay trying to pull your weapon out. And by opening the door, it removes that delay and just kind of, you know, has you pop up like a mole, rat, whatever you call those things. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. Apex Legends does not require a high sensitivity, especially on console. It does not require that, and I see a lot of people, even new people, trying to play it on a high sensitivity just because they think it's cool, or, you know, they think it looks cooler because they're on a high sense. If you're a worse player, you do not need to be on a high sense. Lower your sensitivity, you're going to be hitting a lot more of your shots, and you can counter your own low sensitivity by being in better positions than your enemy. By being on a low sense, it allows you to, you know, learn to be in better positions, because you can't always just, for example, if someone's behind, you can't always just flick on them. You have to always be in better positions when you are on a low sense, and I feel like being on a low sense actually increases your game sense. And lastly, guys, I want to say that make sure you come to my Twitch and you know, come watch me live. I think it'll be a good time. You'll definitely enjoy it, especially if you enjoy these types of videos. I think you will enjoy some of my streams. It allows you to learn and you know, interact with me and ask me questions. Whatever you have to ask, I will be there to answer. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I will hopefully see you in my stream. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys, and I love you. I just wanna talk about the things I think should change. Picking up the havocs off the floor is just a little strange. I get shot like 40 times and they don't even miss a range. I just wanna chill, but pubs is basically like playing rent. Nothing's ever getting done and it all stays the same. Like they made the caustic better just to really fuck the game. Every time I open doors, it's like
victory is delicious.